Let me begin with a few questions. Do you ever wonder what leadership will look like in the next 5 years? Do you ever feel like the pace of change is moving faster than people can adapt? Do you ever wish you knew exactly how to stay ahead of these disruptions while keeping your people engaged and inspired? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, you are in the right place. Our speaker today has founded, scaled, and sold 3 international companies before going back to study the psychology and neuroscience behind how people and leaders actually change. He now works with executives from companies like Microsoft, PwC, and Salesforce, helping them lead with agility, authenticity, and confidence in this era of unprecedented transformation. When he's not sneaking in a game of peekaboo or counting the minutes to the next season of Ted Lasso, he's writing for entrepreneur.com, authoring best-selling books, and studying how leadership must evolve in the age of AI and constant disruption. To show us what it really takes to thrive in the future of leadership, please join me in welcoming author, speaker, and psychologist, R. Michael Anderson.
In 1993, I was working at my first job outside of university. I was an entry-level IT staff at an engineering software company who was pretty ahead of the curve. And I walk into the IT department, and there's this massive brown box in there. And of course, I'm nosy, right? So I open it up and I look in, and there's the biggest computer I've ever seen, the biggest server I've ever seen. And I went to our IT director. I'm like, "What's in this box?" And he goes, it's a server. I'm like, "Well, for what?" He's like, "It's for the internet." I'm like, "The internet? What's that?" We were one of the first companies on the internet, and back then you had to get your own server because there was no ISPs or anything like that. And that was obviously the beginning of a big wave of change. But back then, I was young, we didn't know what the internet was, we didn't really know what was coming. But now, I think there's a lot of change coming, and we see it coming. And it's coming fast. The internet was massive, but they say now all this change is going to come even faster. So what I'm here to give you, so what I do is every time there's a big change, we did this with the pandemic, we did this with the AI, which I'll talk about some of those studies. I do what's called executive briefings for my clients, because they're all coming to me and they say, "Hey, what's coming next?" So this is a bit of an executive briefing. I'm going to give you some data because my goal here is to give you some information about what's coming, the changes that are coming, and how to work with your clients to adapt to those changes to make you more valuable. And that's what we're going to talk about that in the concept of leadership. Is that all good? Good, good, good. You said no, that's not good. I don't know what we talk about for a while, but we're all good. All right, let's go 5. Now, there's 3 big changes coming, and this is going to be a surprise to no one, right? AI, workforce dynamics, and change and agility. But we all know these things are coming, but specifically, what do we need to do to address them? Now, believe it or not, here's a little bit about me. Believe it or not, I'm not Scottish. This isn't an Edinburgh accent, right? I'm a Yank. I know, surprising.
I learned something new.
What are you doing?
So sorry.
It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. See, roll with change, right? Agility. We got to roll with the change. That's what we got to do as leaders. But so I grew up in America, and I'll tell you my really short story because it's important with what I do. I was a programmer. I worked my way up the corporate ladder. I founded my first software company at 35. We had a lot of success, but I wasn't ready as a leader. And I have a long, dramatic story about my leadership journey, which had to do with a ton of self-doubt, imposter syndrome, depression, divorce, substance abuse, a business partner assaulting me, and lawsuits. We don't have time for that, so you got to wait for the Netflix special, or go on YouTube. It's on YouTube. And so I speak a lot. And the reason I teach leadership and I work with leaders from around the world is because leadership was really difficult for me. And so, and I just wanted to give that. But me as a software entrepreneur, I had to go through, we had to adapt to a cloud, we had to adapt to mobile. So there's been a lot of change that I went through. And I've learned a lot about that and work with my clients about that. Before we get into that, I think it was interesting putting this together. I want to talk about sort of like yesterday's leaders, like where's leadership has come from and what it's been doing and what we need to do as, like almost as a tomorrow leader. There's two places sort of, well, I'm going to say modern leadership, like up until now leadership has come from. Anybody want to guess where the two places came from, that leadership now, the foundation of leadership now has come from?
Military.
Yes, military. That's exactly right. So in World War I, here's what the military was, here's what World War I was like. There would be one trench over here with one army in it, like a trench, like a dug trench, and they'd be in this trench. A couple hundred meters, there'd be another trench. There'd be, for months and months, people would be stuck in this trench. There'd be artillery coming, and you would have to run out of your trench and go over and try to get in the other person's trench, and if not, they shot you. If you're like, I'm not doing that, they would shoot you, right? Tough leaders, tough all around there, but that's where it came from. And then when we get to, and then World War II comes around, and this is what General Patton said, lead me, follow me, or get out of the way. So very top-down leadership, very like, do what I do, hierarchical, don't ask questions. That's right. So we got the first one, military. Where's the second thing that leadership, that shaped leadership?
Sports.
What's that?
Sports.
No, didn't really shape leadership. That's a good one. Anything else? Anybody else? Mass production in factories, right? Mass production. And again, back then factories were like, you're going to put this screw in for 8 hours a day, and you're going to do this one screw, and then it's going to go to the next, and the person's going to put in the next screw. It's like no thinking, no variety. You do like literally one simple thing for the whole time. Henry Ford, why is it every time I ask for a pair of hands, they come with a brain attached? Henry Ford did some really cool things. He was a bit of a jerk too, if you get to know Henry Ford, but that's a sign of the times. So that's where the military and manufacturing, that shaped leadership, very top-down, very hierarchical, et cetera. Now the funny thing is, if you look at factories now, they've really moved on. There's lean manufacturing, there's agile manufacturing, there's the continuous improvement things. There's the people that work in the factory look a lot different than the people who used to work in the factories look different. So factories, because manufacturing is really competitive, have changed a lot. Same with the military. If you look at the military, they're embracing AI. They're on the forefront of technology. Even their leadership, they don't lead by just giving orders. They give objectives, and you have small teams that self-manage themselves, go out and do what they want. They've also embraced emotional intelligence. They've embraced mental health that sometimes we don't see. So there's a lot of this going on in the military. Yeah, however, leadership hasn't really caught up. The corporate leadership, it's catching up. There's places where it's caught up. There's areas where it's caught up, but we're still catching up. And that's what I want to talk about, is the difference between yesterday's leader and tomorrow's leader. And so what you need to do, I have a master's in psychology and neuroscience, and I studied both of them to understand leaders and help myself as a leader and other leaders better. So we're going to talk about these mindset shifts you need to make and help your clients make, so that you're more valuable. Because look, leadership, every single study you look about leadership is screwed. Leadership is not good across the board. I think the average engagement rate worldwide of employees is about 17%. In the UK it's like 19 or something. In the US it's around the same. So we got a lot of room for improvement. But a lot's not working. And in fact, that's why my latest book, Leadership Mindset 2.0, it's won 3 Book of the Year awards, sold over 50,000 copies, and it's actually being required textbooks in a lot of graduate level university programs, because it's time for this mindset shift. But it all starts with the leader's mindset shifts. So that's really what we're going to focus on. For example, artificial intelligence, we all hear about it. Now, what I want you to do, we have some interactivity here. So go over here. I'm going to put this. I used to be a programmer, so you're seeing like real time, my skills in real time here. All right. Okay, if you want to participate, take your smartphone out and either hit this QR code or go to menti.com and put that code in. And we're going to do a couple different things. So I'm going to ask you your perceptions on different aspects so we can get to see what everybody's perception is, and then we're going to self-evaluate ourselves on each of these different areas so we can get a benchmark. When we're doing the self-evaluation, you can answer on behalf of yourself or maybe one of your clients, because you probably know one of your clients, how they think and where the organization at. So just when we get to the self-evaluation, is it working?
Do we have to go further than the...
No, not yet. I don't let you go any further than where I'm at. I know, I like you though. You're going for it. You guys all good? Okay. All right, so I just want you to like maybe just clear your mind, and when I say AI, artificial intelligence, what's the first feeling that comes to your mind? Not what are you supposed to think, not like, is there a feeling that comes to your mind around AI? And I want you to put that word in and then hit submit. Opportunity, confusion, collaboration, support, despair, mystery, uncertain. Interesting. So I'm going to, after the presentation, I'm going to give you a way to get I'll send all this stuff to you, all the different evaluations and stuff. What's interesting is when I did this myself, because everything that I teach, I always do myself. So I'm like, all right, I cleared my mind. And I'm like, AI, Mike, what's the first thing you think about? And honestly, it was fear. And I'm like, I should be excited about it. But if I'm honest, and I always want to be honest, there's a fear, there's an anxiety about AI. But I see the opportunity too. And so that's the question. So we can also see the opportunity and have anxiety. We can see both. So it's interesting what you're going to see and what your clients have as well. And when I say clients, not just the client overall, but the individual people there, right? Because it's all about the individual people. Okay. Yes. So what I did for you don't have to look at these graphs individually, but anytime there's a big change, my team and we do some research, because when AI was getting really, really popular a little while ago, 2 years ago, all my clients were saying, hey, we understand AI is coming in, but as leaders, what do we need to do? How do we need to change? So my team and we did a pretty expansive research study. So we got 306 responses from leaders of different ages, different geographies, et cetera. We got both quantitative and qualitative. We had them do some studies, and we talked to them. I looked at all the other studies. I came out with a leader's guide, and I'll give you access to this. Normally I sell this, but this is something I'll give you access to at the end. So we have a white paper, we have an infographic, I have a 1-hour executive briefing on all this stuff. But just to give you some of the highlights, leaders need to do two things when it comes to AI. They need to change their company, and then they need to change the way they work with their people. And I just wanted to bring out a couple different highlights of what we found out. Now, the biggest thing you have to do as a leader, and maybe this is how you help your leaders, and maybe this is how you do as somebody who supports leaders, you don't have to know AI. You don't have to know AI, but you have to know where AI is deployed. You have to know how to use AI. So for example, like if you buy a sports team, you don't have to know how to play sports, but you have to know how to market the sports team. You have to know, right? Or if you have a manufacturing thing, you don't have to know how to weld, but you know how you have to know everything about that. So you don't actually have to use AI every day, but you have to know where you need to deploy it, where it's going to work, where it's not going to work, how to manage that type of project. And that's, the former IBO of former IBM CEO has a great quote. AI is not going to replace you unless you don't know how to use AI, where to use AI. This also came out of it because if you look at a company structure, companies have different functional departments, right? Sales, marketing, manufacturing, distribution, whatever it is, professional services, et cetera, right? And also through that, it has different, I don't know if you might call them support, cross-functional type things. You have HR that normally cross a company because you don't want to have a different marketing department in marketing and sales and operations, right? It makes sense. The thing is, this is just something I've been playing with, and I'm working with some of my clients. I think AI is the same way because AI is going to cross the entire organization, right? And if you have marketing people that you're like, hey, learn AI, they're going to spend all their time just trying to keep up with AI and never get anything done. And what's a really interesting operational question is, should AI be within IT? Or should it be more like a business process analyst, or should it be another type of thing? That's something I've been talking to some of my clients about. And by the way, I love talking about this stuff. I'm going to stay through lunch, so if you have any questions or inputs, I'd love to hear what you're seeing with your clients as well. Here's the most interesting thing that came out to me as a leadership mindset person that came out of this. So this is a representative graph. This isn't a quantitative graph, but this is just, it goes to show leadership. Let's talk about yesterday's leaders, pre-AI. If you looked at a random leader's job functions, 25% of it is leadership, having a vision, coaching people, all those different types of things. 25% is what I call a functional area. So if you're a CMO, 25% of your job is like marketing. If you're CFO, 25% of your job is finance, right? Makes sense. 25% is management, managing projects, managing teams, et cetera. 25% is technology. I mean, you have to use technology, right? You have to know where it's used, and we all do that. But the thing is, AI is going to streamline a lot of these processes. So what leadership is going to look like tomorrow is you're going to need to do less in your functional area because it's going to take over a lot of marketing or a lot of finance, whatever it is. You're going to have to know less about technology. That's going to be streamlined. You're going to have to manage stuff less because AI is really good at that. You are going to have to know AI capabilities. But you know what the company is going to need you for is leading people. Because when you look at all the studies, what all the future reports say, the one thing that AI isn't going to be able to replace in the near or possibly far future is the relationships. It's the having the vision, having a true strategy, coaching people, inspiring people. That's what's going to be needed. And a lot of leaders, think about a lot of the leaders maybe they're not that great people leaders. Yeah, hey, I'm a CFO and I'm not really that great with my team, but I'm a genius with numbers. Well, you know what? AI is a genius with numbers too. We need you to be a great people person. So this is actually going to expose a lot of the people that aren't the great people leaders, and they're going to have to actually become leaders now and not marketing people that happen to be in a leadership position. All right, so let's go and back to here, and let's go to the next thing. And I want you to evaluate your AI readiness. Evaluate your AI readiness. And again, you can do this. I want you to either do this at you as a person, or if you have like a client that you work with a lot, answer this like on their behalf. Because it would be interesting, and these are just reflective questions, but I'll send all these things out. One thing you got to do, once you do this, you got to hit submit at the bottom. I was testing this out. I'm like, why isn't it updating? Because I haven't submitted at the bottom. Interesting. It's a lot more of a positive view around AI than I would have guessed. That's a bit surprising to me. And I think the AI capabilities is a difficult question because they're changing literally week by week, day by day. Good. Interesting. Yeah. Good. All right, workforce dynamics. And just to confirm, because I don't talk about different generational workforces all the time. It's not like my specialty. In fact, the last presentation was really eye-opening on a couple of the, especially the mental health type things for the younger generation. But just to get our definitions correct, because I had to look this up. Gen Z is 13 to 28 years old, but millennials are 29 to 44 years old. And when we talk about workforce dynamics, workforces are changing very, very quickly, very quickly. But the next thing I want you to answer is, when you think of people from Gen Z, say 30 years old and under, what's the first word that comes to your mind? What's the first word that comes to your mind? Boundaried, fickle, self-obsessed. We're not talking about your teenage kid, right? Entitled. iPhone focus. That's very sprightly. All right. Interesting. Needy, challenge, independent. This is helpful with me because my clients are all senior leaders, so my clients are all older. I don't deal with a heck of a lot of Gen Zs in my day-to-day work, but I hear a lot from my clients and some of the difficulties and things. And and again, I'll send this out, just to have some fun with you, I have 3 quotes here about the younger generation. Now, the funny thing is, who said these quotes and when?
That's pretty.
Yeah.
One from the 50s around teenagers as well that reads like.
Yeah. Now, I think I'm playing around a little bit, but you know what? Honestly, our parents complained about us. Their parents complained about them. There's a little bit of this, like, the younger generation, and there's a little truth. So I think we got to just be careful on where we're playing here. I think that's one thing we have to do. And then we want to get specific about how the younger generation is different. So this is really specific things about how the younger generation is different. The younger generation wants purpose and meaning. The younger generation is not going to go in and do some stupid ass job because you said it without telling them why. And, I can't really blame them. That I can't really blame. Some people do have to do the grunt work in this world, and normally that's the younger person. Though that's our challenge as leaders is to tie some purpose and meaning to it, and to maybe let them know why, that type of thing. Because and that's the yesterday's leader. The yesterday's leader is, I'm paying you a paycheck, so do what I say. These people are like, no, I'd rather just live on mom and dad's couch and not pay rent. But the problem is we're mom and dad, so we want them out of there, right? So, but that's great leadership. Great leadership. Tomorrow's leaders give everybody a purpose and meaning. So that's a challenge to us, and we got to up our game. The mental health and well-being, and that the last presentation, that's one thing I didn't realize that was that high. But they are looking for this mental health and well-being. And I do believe that with some of the social media and different types of things, that they're more apt to, that this is my personal opinion, that there is a little less resilience and grit in there, and there is a little bit more of this issues with mental health. And I don't know, that's an opinion, that's not off of data, but there's got to be something driving those numbers. But they're also asking for it, and I think part of the numbers are different because before we also didn't ask for it. So again, I think there's different reasons those numbers are higher, because I think we're identifying it more. They're looking for continuous feedback and growth, and again, a lot of these are good things. But they want feedback, they want to grow. My impressions of younger people is they want to do more fun stuff, and they're also very self-motivated when they have the right motivation. I find them much more, again, this is personal experience, I find them much more independent and self-motivated than probably I was when I was young, or my parents were in their 20s, if they have a reason to do stuff. I mean, they'll go on freaking YouTube or TikTok, learn how to do something, I'll be like, how'd you learn how to do it? Oh, I just figured it out, which I don't think a lot of us did when we were in our early 20s, but we also didn't have the resources. So it's interesting around that. Flexibility, I think Patrick's going to talk a little bit more about work-life balance and integration, so he's got some great stuff on this. I'm going to talk about, this is inclusive leadership, and there is, the younger generation is looking to be included in what's happening, and this is a little bit like purpose and meaning. When I talk about inclusive leadership, they're looking for a diverse workforce. They want to be treated with respect. They want to know what's going on how they're making a difference. That's what I talk about inclusive leadership. They're really talking about for that. And then communication preferences, they're okay with text and different types of things. They don't answer their phone. Which I don't answer my phone much anymore, so I gotta honestly that. So that's about the younger generation. Remote and hybrid. Now, when the pandemic came, I'm like, okay, when the pandemic hit, I have a lot of business owner clients, so I worked with a lot of my business owner clients to really, for a couple weeks, to really figure out what they're gonna do with their company now that the pandemic hit. And then I realized that I was in a unique situation because I had been working remote for about 20 years and virtual and hybrid for about 20 years. Not a lot of people did, just because of the nature of the technology the companies I worked for and then that I owned. My one company won the #1 best place to work with a hybrid company around 12 years ago. So it's like, I have a lot of expertise in this. So I actually wrote a book. I'm pretty proud of this. I had an idea for a book in the pandemic, and I published it 28 days later on remote and hybrid working. Honestly, this is not my most deep book, but a lot of people needed to know how to run remote and hybrid teams in that time. And there's a lot of different data. I wanted to look at the data. There's two pieces of data, one on this, but also I want to go back to the younger generation. Because I'm like, what does the data say about how good the younger generation is compared to other generations when they were that old? And it's hard to get good data. It's hard to get good quantifiable. But they did say that there's a little less engagement for this generation. So they're a little less engaged at work. But that engagement comes around when their managers or their bosses are a great deal older than them, right? So if there's a big age gap in their management, their leadership, and it's probably direct managers as well as the rest of the company, there's more of a chance for low engagement. So again, if you have clients with some of that age gap and they're having problems with it, that's stuff that you can help them with, right? Going back to, sorry, I just forgot that. So going back to remote and hybrid work, there's a lot of different data on I did some research, me and AI sat down, and there's one research that said people that are in hybrid work environments have more engagement, and then there's another one that said they have less engagement. So I think the jury's out on this. And honestly, what I found for myself and my clients and out there, remote and hybrid environments work, but you have to put the energy in. You can't hire somebody, have them work out of their house and never do any team building, never do any values work, never do any culture work, and just be like, they're unengaged. well, no kidding there. You have to really put. What we did, we had a hybrid workforce, and on Fridays, a lot of days, we would get a catered lunch in so we could all eat lunch together. And what we would do for our remote people is we would buy them, we would have them order from their local deli or sandwich shop. They would get their meal in, and we would have them on the screen as we would all eat. So we made the effort to include them. So if you have clients they're struggling with remote or hybrid work, there's ways to do that. Are they putting the energy in? Are they putting the resources in to do this? And if they're having problems with engagement and all these different things, it's probably because they're not, or they're not doing the right way. And again, that's an opportunity for you. And I think, especially with the talent now, if you want good talent, you almost have to be hybrid or remote. Depends on the industry. But a lot of the good technology people, whether they have global workforces or whatever, there is a lot of statistics around how a lot of high in-demand individuals will only work hybrid or remote, and the hybrid and remote job applications will get a lot more people applying for them. Okay, now, if you want to evaluate, I want you to just take a second and evaluate yourself on your workforce readiness. And again, you can answer for yourself or on behalf of your client. About understanding and connecting with the younger generations. If your organization is set up for younger people to succeed, and if your working environment is sorted out. And Mary, do I have 7 minutes left? Is that what I have left, Mary? Okay. Okay, interesting. We're going to power forward, and again, I'll send all this stuff out. Last thing is agility and change. So this is fairly simple. And this is what the CEO of KPMG said. He's the CEO of KPMG. Is this the most KPMG person looking you've ever seen in your life? Anyway, sorry. That's somebody said AI. Give me the AI. Give me the KPMG. Okay, the first is yourself. Look, we are changing. I had this whole big spiel, but we're changing faster than ever. Look, we all know that the speed of business is changing. So you as a leader, or you coaching your leader, having leaders, are you good at change? Do you know how? There's literally ways to manage change management. Do your leaders, do the people you work with know change management methodologies? There is methodologies to do this. Do you get excited about change? Are you able to lead change, or do you resist change? Because that's the first thing. The first thing we always work with ourselves. Then the second thing, you put that out to the next state, the company's culture. Do you have culture? Do you have change embedded in your culture? I was having a meeting with my team, which was 3 people, me and 3 other people. So I have a small team now as a speaker, thought leader, and they're like, we should have more written documentation around this. We need to. I'm like, look, we're a 4-person company. We're not going to have documentation. I'm like, you got to just deal with it. I mean, I said it in a nice way, like a joking way, but I'm like, look, we're a small agile company. To be agile, we're not going to have written procedures for everything. So, your clients should have written procedures for everything. I'm not saying that, but I'm like, what I'm telling them is like, you got to adapt on the fly. Everything's not going to be written down and nice and easy. If you're not able to adapt on the fly, we're a 4-person company, you're not the right person for this company. And that's me just putting the culture in, setting their expectations, right? This is I'm the leader, this is what our culture is going to look like. And look, they got it. I mean, they knew me, and they know how we work. But the question is, your culture is every time maybe the CEO gives a talk, he's like, look, we're going to change. We're going to change today. We're going to change tomorrow. We're going to change next month. It's not going to change. If that's a problem for you, this is not the right. Look, I'm a bit dramatic when I say this. If that's a problem for you, maybe you're not the right person for this company, right? That when you hire people, it's like we change a lot. Do you like to change? Join our company. If you don't, this is not the right culture for you. So that's what you put when you put change in your culture. That's what it looks like. Now, when the pandemic came, me and my buddy Dr. Nick Quinn from the University of Glasgow, I said Glasgow, I still can't pronounce it right. We did a meta-analysis of the studies of when companies had to change very quickly. And we did executive briefings on that during the pandemic. And what was really interesting is in periods of not a lot of change, top-down and bottom-up companies had about the same performance. So if you're a hierarchical top-down, or if you're like you empower your leader, your people in the type of thing, they had about the same performance. But when you come to a period of great change, the top-down companies really struggled because it takes a long time to do a hierarchical decisions, and they don't know what's going on down there. During a period of great change, it's the people that empowered the lowest level, the people closest to the customers. It gave them, it empowered them, it gave them tools, it gave them room, because that's how you adapt to change. So your organization, if you're not training the people all throughout the organization, if you're not giving them the tools, if you're not giving them the space to make decisions, the more change there is, the more you're going to struggle. Because that's really where a lot of the agility come from. So, the last thing is, the last evaluation is just to rate these. You as a manager, or you as the manager you work the most with your clients, I love leading change, and I really know the change management methodology and a lot of tools and how to communicate change and all that other stuff. Our culture and workforce is very change friendly. We intentionally put that into our culture. And we empower all of the organization, and people of all levels can make decisions. All right, I have 2 minutes left. So in that 2 minutes, if you want, go to the next slide and you can put in your name and your email. I will send you the AI package, which is a video executive briefing for 1 hour, an infographic, and a white paper. And you will get a copy of these slides, and you will get a copy of these results. I want to hear from 3 people. What is a mindset shift or an insight you've gotten from my presentation? What is a mindset shift like? Okay, I have to shift my mindset around this, or now I'm looking at something a different way. Yes?
Perceiving younger people negatively. That was quite eye-opening when I looked at that. I actually didn't say that's something that made too, but I did have something thought.
Yeah.
So when I saw what was coming up, no, I'm not sure. No. So great. And then when you showed us, it actually happens in every generation. So that was really helpful.
Great, thank you. Thank you. Who else? You got something for us?
Bloody legs. I don't think so. Not this my head.
No worries. Anybody?
Yeah. So I was just taking on somebody in South Africa sort of thing about. So just a bit about making sure it's for the engagement time, because it's the 30% reputational needles to relate.
It does.
Then some actually a challenge. People engaged in the gym harvest.
Yeah, because in a way you save by having a remote, right? You save money, you save this, but you got to put that resource. That's not you have to reallocate some of that time, that effort.
That's great. Yeah, love it. Yeah.
All right, over here, yes.
I actually answer this different spectrum, but I really disagree with the culture about the Yankee.
Okay. Good. I love disagreeing. Let's hear it.
And actually, what I think is what they're asking for is to be the model employee that they probably should be delivering.
They're asking.
Well, that they want a good job, decent money, clear instruction, not score. They're asking for the things that we should be providing.
Yes, like they have legitimate claims.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. We're in agreement.
I'd like to just understand on that. We did a statement, so I'm not HR, I'm work for HR. I work in one of the largest advise on employee deficits, thanking the shop, and we're doing a session in our business. And it was very, very interesting. A lot of Gen X, older Gen X, which, you know, in the 20s Gen Z. And the guys were doing the banter and the things that they were doing push back on and the backhand comments and the disconnect that immediately happened.
Yes.
Because and you can see that they lost all respect as well, because the way we were used to that type of behavior.
Yes.
Like, so you weren't, and just seeing them sitting there judging.
The young people were judging, or the old people were judging?
Yeah, they were watching leaders behave like children.
Oh.
Because there was the banter and backhand comments to people that they knew, and with that level of disrespect, the thing just will not be there.
Wow.
So I observed that, and I'm like, that's very interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think that's why sometimes for that older leader, there's that disconnect.
Huh. It's almost like the older people have the entitlement, like I should be able to act like
That
this.
certainly came across
Wow.
that way, that's for sure.
Wow. No, thank you.
Name the consultancy.
Well, thank you very much. I'm just going to get Mary's PowerPoint back, but it's been a real pleasure, everybody. And again, I love talking about this stuff. So please do find me during lunch if you have anything you want to chat about. And, you know, just remember, look, leadership is hard. And, you know, as leaders, we take on so much, and, you know, your clients take on so much. So it's really great that Mary brings everybody here together. You can talk to your peers and the leaders out there that have you supporting them. So thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.